Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us here on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. We start this morning with a live look at a press conference. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson is giving the 2025 report on human trafficking. This press conference just began, so let's go ahead and listen in.
In the community as the deputy director of the task force, but beyond that. She has a dual master's in social work and public administration from the University of South Carolina, go Cox, and I am proud to formally introduce her to you today as our new director. Along with Monique's promotion to director, we have been able to do a number of things this year. You're going to hear about these a little bit later. We've completed the first round of certification evaluations for state human trafficking service providers. We've hosted the annual Human Trafficking Carolinas Conference in partnership with North Carolina, and we've updated the laws on the books to include morphed images and criminalizing revenge porn, which actually do play a role in the war on human trafficking. We could not have done this without the support of the General Assembly. The recurring funding we received several years ago has allowed us to hire additional staff. It has allowed us to better coordinate with regional task forces in each of the major areas of the state. It's allowed us to pay for resources to hire an outside certification program coordinator, provide the best possible multi-state conference, and has allowed us to partner with ETV to continue to improve and expand our prevention, education, and outreach efforts in the classrooms around the state as well as every community in the state. Human trafficking awareness in South Carolina is finally bringing this crime into daily conversations. Beforehand, it was something that you saw in Hollywood movies and something that people didn't think to talk about. But we have shoved it into daily conversations, and we are shedding light on how we all can work together to protect, prevent, prosecute both sex and labor trafficking in South Carolina. We are now able to take everything the task force has been doing and raise it to the next level. In 2025, we were able to compare South Carolina specific numbers from the same data collected last year as we looked at numbers from state and federal courts, SLED, DSS, and DJJ. And you will hear more about those numbers momentarily. Our state task force data and research analyst, and I'll recognize him later, but Chris Brunswick is taking the next steps to determine the needs of human trafficking to inform our direction by better understanding human trafficking around our state. You cannot adequately manage a problem until you adequately measure the problem, and that is why that is so important. It allows us to put lead on the target at hand. Labor and sex trafficking continue to present themselves in varying ways. The most consistent trend we saw in 2024 is the prevalence of minor victims. Given the complexities of human trafficking cases, the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force uses a multidisciplinary approach to most strategically utilize the knowledge and strengths of all of its members. The task force is currently composed of 11 mandated member agencies around in state government, 2 appointed non-governmental organizations, as well as several federal organizations like the Department of Labor, the United States Attorney's Office, as well as our other federal law enforcement agencies who elect to partner with us, and they are very active. We also have 12 subcommittees under our state human trafficking task force, as well as 11 regional task force that work in the regions of the state, but also in coordination with our state task force. The regional task forces are our boots on the ground in South Carolina's fight against human trafficking. In 2025, the Survivor Advisory Committee redesigned our mandated awareness posters. This new design was printed and distributed to the regional task forces around the state who made the effort to get them distributed in every community. Our regional task forces, in conjunction with our interfaith subcommittee, host and participate in a trunk or treat events in October to spread age and event appropriate awareness items and engage with our communities around South Carolina. I want to thank the sheriffs and the solicitors and other agencies for allowing their employees to commit time to the anti-human trafficking efforts in our state. Also, I think we have at least one solicitor here, David Stumbo. Thank you, Solicitor Stumbo. And I know others would be here, but they were otherwise engaged. But I do want to thank Solicitor David Stumbo for standing up here. The people standing with me today are representatives of these groups from around the state. Thank you to all the members of the task force for your hard work and perseverance in 2025. Victims and survivors are not defined by any specific characteristic and represent numerous cultural backgrounds. Therefore, the task force continues to promote the development and implementation of trauma-informed, culturally sensitive, and comprehensive victim-centered approaches to human trafficking. I would now like to invite the director of the task force, Monique Garvin, with a special presentation on behalf of the governor's office.
The governor's office could not be with us here today. However, they sent a proclamation to honor Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and it reads, "Whereas human trafficking is a crime against humanity that negatively impacts millions of lives worldwide, including throughout the United States and South Carolina, and whereas victims of human trafficking, including children, youth, and adults, face unimaginable hardships, including the loss of their dignity, freedom, and basic rights through commercial sexual exploitation, debt bondage, involuntary servitude, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. And whereas the state of South Carolina is committed to advocating for the well-being of all its residents by protecting the vulnerable through prevention education and awareness, as well as continued efforts to support victims, investigate cases, and prosecute traffickers. And whereas South Carolina is committed to partnering with regional and national allies to strengthen our efforts toward the elimination of human trafficking and its traumatic impact on our communities. And whereas this statewide Human Trafficking Task Force works to support the efforts of South Carolina stakeholders, including regional task forces and community advocates, and guide the strategic approach to combat this crime. And whereas this year's observance of Human Trafficking Awareness Month affirms South Carolina's commitment to individual freedoms and the elimination of human trafficking in all its oppressive forms. Now, therefore, I, Henry Dargan McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim January as 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month throughout the state and encourage all South Carolinians to recognize the vital role each person plays in the prevention of human trafficking, as well as the power of our collective efforts in ending this crime in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique, and thanks to the governor for their support and his office's support of this task force. The state task force received substantial funding from the General Assembly in 2022. Because of that funding, it provided us much-needed staff, and in 2025, we were better able to realize the lack of appropriate housing and resources around the state for victims and survivors in South Carolina. Every community in South Carolina needs an expansion of both community and residential programming for victims and survivors. It is the legislatively mandated role of this task force to certify programs that do provide services for minor adult victims of human trafficking. So you just can't have fly-by-the-night of organizations throwing up a halfway house or an organization saying that they provide services. They must now be certified by this task force. A list of the certified programs must be made available to the public and the court so they can make appropriate recommendations to services aligned with best practices. In 2025, the state task force launched South Carolina's Safe House Certification Program in partnership with Safe House Project. This legislatively mandated initiative established a comprehensive, standard-driven approach to evaluating residential and non-residential anti-human trafficking organizations. South Carolina is the first state in the nation to require Safe House certification as part of its statewide service delivery framework. We're leading from the front, and it's because of everyone up here that that's so. Every organization must have each program they run individually evaluated. The programs include both adult and minor residential and community services. I would like to recognize those organizations that successfully completed the evaluation this year. So first, I would like to have Monique is going to have the awards and certificates to give the representatives of each organization as I call them out. So if we call out your organization, I'd like you to come forward, and Monique will present you with your certification. First, Doors to Freedom, Dorchester County, Minor Residential Program, Gold Certification Badge. Transitional Age Youth Program, Gold Certification Badge. Do we have? Let me go ahead and give you congratulations.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
We're proud of you. Jasmine Road, Greenville County, Adult Long-Term Program, Bronze Certification Badge. You're right there. Congratulations. Lighthouse for Life, Richland County, Community-Based Program, Gold Certification Badge. Congratulations. The Formation Project, Charleston County, they have a community-based program which was receiving a gold certification badge, and a newly created transitional program which is emerging, and we just wanted to recognize them for that program. But they are a gold certification badge for the community-based program. Congratulations. And this is a point of personal privilege. Brooke is my former law clerk. So I like to see my...
Everything I know.
Everything you know, right? Yeah, no, we know that's not true.
Twice, wherever she is.
Yes, yes. I'm so proud of seeing people who used to work in our office do great things for our state. So I would like to now transition to the Advocate of the Year Award. This is a really, really important award. Our next recognition is for someone who has used his voice in the state legislature to transform personal tragedy into dedicated advocacy. His legislative leadership in changing and updating state and federal laws protects victims from online exploitation and sextortion, both of which are increasingly linked to human trafficking here in South Carolina. At this time, I would ask Representative Brandon Guffey to join me at the podium, and I already had him here, but Brandon, step up. The task force recognizes all of the contributions you have made to consistently support the victims and survivors of this state by introducing and passing legislation to strengthen our laws and our rights for victims, specifically Gavin's Law. Your steadfast support is acknowledged today as we recognize you with the 2025 Advocate of the Year Award. This award is given at this press conference to unique individuals who contribute to the anti-human trafficking efforts in South Carolina. So because this is in a clear glass, I've gone to these now, I'm going to read what this says. The South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force 2025 Advocate of the Year Award is presented to Representative Brandon Guffey for demonstrating profound commitment to human trafficking advocacy as a South Carolina representative through steadfast legislative impact. I want to present with great appreciation on behalf of our task force, all our adjacent membership, the people of South Carolina, thank you for what you do as a leader in South Carolina. We appreciate you, we love you, and this is just a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was an extended look at South Carolina Attorney General's Alan Wilson's annual press conference regarding their human trafficking task force, talking about some of their ongoing priorities and kind of looking back at recent numbers in the state. That is, again, a legislative mandated task force there. We are going to continue with our top headlines today on WTOC Plus as we move now to the Crime Watch, where right now a jury trial is now underway for a murder suspect in a deadly 2022 shooting in Savannah. A jury trial began for Michael Sanders just over an hour ago at 9 this morning in Chatham County Superior Court. Sanders faces murder and aggravated assault charges in a double shooting in the 500 block of Wynwood Place from back in November 2022. 31-year-old Michael Price was killed during that shooting. Another man was also shot, but he survived. 2 other men are also charged in the case, accused of making false statements to police. And also happening today, a jury trial begins for a man accused of killing his wife in Savannah 2 years ago. Phaeton Nepriato is accused of killing Rachel Tanerlisky inside her home on East Park Avenue in East Savannah. Records say he strangled her and caused blunt force trauma. He's being charged with felony murder, and he will be in Chatham County Superior Court this morning. So stick with WTOC for updates on this case. And today, a man learns his fate after getting convicted of murdering the mother of his child in Port Wentworth. Sean Bolden Jr. was convicted last month for malice and felony murder in the shooting death of Deanna Elson. She was killed just before Mother's Day in 2021 in front of their 5-month-old child. Now, he will be in Chatham County Superior Court this morning for a sentencing hearing. The DA's office says the state will be asking for life without the possibility of parole. We are monitoring this case as well, so stick with WTOC for updates. Well, just 2 hours outside of Savannah, the Georgia Department of Corrections is investigating a possible riot at the Washington County Prison. The Washington County Sheriff's Office reports 3 inmates were confirmed dead after that potential riot, and about 13 others were taken to the hospital for medical treatment. The Sheriff's Office says several fights broke out early yesterday afternoon, which resulted in those deaths and injuries. The local sheriff also said 1 guard may have been injured in the incident. The Georgia Department of Corrections has gotten the facility under control, and they have conducted a head count. The Sheriff's Office says fights like these are not uncommon.
It's not uncommon for these things to happen in correctional facilities. However, I think this has been it's been quite some time since we've had to come to an incident this large.
Multiple agencies are investigating the case, including Georgia State Patrol, the Washington County Coroner's Office, Davidsboro Police, and Johnson County Sheriff's Office as well. Well, a celebration of life was held yesterday for U.S. Army veteran D'Angelo Shaw. He was a DJ and bouncer who was shot and killed while working at Little Lucky's Bar in Savannah. Shaw, who was also known as Aiken, lost his life just outside the bar back in November. Family and friends gathered at the Savannah Harley-Davidson yesterday to ride their motorcycles in his honor in what they called his last ride. More than 60 bikers took part in the celebration, ending the ride at a local veteran hotspot to honor their friend and fellow vet.
It was a great feeling to see all the bikers come together and honor my brother and our loved one, D'Angelo Shaw. Not the year that he left us, but that dash in the middle, that reputation that he left, those shoes that nobody could ever fill.
Friends say Shaw was caring, loving, and supportive. Shaw was also a co-founder of the Heroes in the Sky Foundation, a group that helps pay tribute and raise awareness for mental health to veterans and first responders. 2 fallen service members, including one from Savannah, now have their sacrifices showcased for everyone to see at 9 Line Apparel. A sign dedication ceremony was held there over the weekend. It was the first ceremony since the store opened 8 years ago in Savannah. Now, the ceremony honors fallen veterans and first responders who passed away in life, service, or taking their own life. One of those honored was Michael Curry, a 13-year veteran of the Savannah Fire Department. Each sign has a QR code that features a picture and biography of the fallen service member.
We want people to know that their loved ones are not forgotten. You know, we say a person dies twice, once physically and a second time when we fail to remember them. What we do as an organization, not only my organization, but 9 Line itself, S3 Operations, Savannah Fire, is we keep their memory alive for their family and for America.
Participants say honoring these fallen service members is a small token of their appreciation for what they've done for our communities. In state news today, lawmakers return to the state capitol. Both Republicans and Democrats are expected to focus on issues central to their bases ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Niamani Watson is outside the state capitol in Atlanta with more on some of the priorities for this legislative session.
Lawmakers plan to discuss and debate property and state income taxes, as well as increasing Georgia's literacy rates, just to name a few. Georgia House Speaker John Burns says his #1 priority is to increase Georgia's literacy rates. He wants to expand testing for dyslexia and place a literacy coach in every Georgia middle school. Lawmakers will also take up bills, including one that would ban cell phones in every high school. Burns says he also wants to bolster the state's healthcare workforce by expanding residencies and opening more training schools. Now, when it comes to taxes, the Senate wants to eliminate Georgia's income tax over several years. Meanwhile, Burns says the House wants to lower property taxes. But there are questions about whether Georgia's budget could absorb the losses of both revenue streams.
We're open to working with any plan that benefits Georgians when it comes to taking care of them, if that's reduction or elimination of the state income tax. But we have to have the details, and it has to work.
A large crowd is also expected here at the Capitol today, made up of organizations, lobbyists, and protesters, hoping to speak with lawmakers as the legislative session reconvenes. Reporting from downtown Atlanta, I'm Niamani Watson, Atlanta News First.
And of course, we will have plenty of updates throughout the legislative session. Our state reporter, Abby Kasoris, will be putting out stories just about every day, which you can watch during the evenings on WTOC. Turning now to health news. This morning, the U.S. is battling a severe flu season, and health officials aren't sure if it's even peaked quite yet. A new and dominant H3N2 flu variant called subclad K is causing concern. More than 91% of these infections are a new version not included in this year's flu shots. So far, at least 15 million Americans have fallen ill, with 180,000 hospitalized. The Atlanta-based CDC estimates 7,400 deaths, including at least 17 children. I had the flu last week, which is why I was out a couple of days, and my goodness, it was, I've had the flu a handful of times in my life. This might have been the worst time I got it, just the level of aches and just not being able to move, the headache. So it got me real bad. It's been going around our newsroom too, so just make sure you're protecting yourself and your family, washing hands, doing all those things when you're out and about. Well, in sports this morning, the rumors are true. Former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan is joining the front office. He will be the team's president of football, overseeing all aspects of Falcons football for the organization. He will report directly to the Falcons owner Arthur Blank while collaborating with Falcons president and CEO Greg Beadles. The next head coach and general manager will report to Ryan. This marks a return to the organization where he spent 14 years as a player. All right, in entertainment news, movie, TV, and streaming stars gathered in Beverly Hills for the 83rd Golden Globe Awards. Bradley Blackburn has more on the big winners and the big moments.
In a star-studded Beverly Hills ballroom, the star of Marty Supreme reigns supreme. Beating out fellow nominees George Clooney and Leonardo DiCaprio, Timothée Chalamet took home Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy.
I'm in a category with many greats. This category is stacked. I look up to all of you. Thank you.
The film, one battle after another, won Best Picture Comedy or Musical, Best Director for Paul Thomas Anderson, and Best Supporting Actress for Tiana Taylor. Hamnet won Best Picture Drama and Best Actress for Jessie Buckley.
Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters.
Golden Globes for Best Song and Best Animated Film went to K-Pop Demon Hunters, while in television, The Pit won Best TV Drama. Star Noah Wyle and creators honored real-life first responders.
Healthcare workers who are the real heroes.
Seth Rogen's The Studio won for Best TV Musical or Comedy, and the award in a new category, Best Podcast, went to a familiar name. Former Globes host Amy Poehler.
I'm big fans of all of you, except for NPR. Just a bunch of celebs phoning it in, so try harder.
Yes, the Golden Globes, without a doubt the most important thing that's happening in the world right now.
Returning host Nikki Glazer roasted the room and the industry and capped it off honoring the late Rob Reiner.
Well, that's our show. This one went to 11.
A nod to Spinal Tap on a big night for Hollywood. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
All right, I know I've talked about Hamnet a handful of times here on WTOC Plus, so I'm not going to overdo it, but I am glad Jessie Buckley won Best Actress. Incredible performance. If y'all haven't seen Hamnet yet, I know it sounds like Hamlet. They're very similar, the whole movie, because I know a whole lot of folks didn't see it. The movie is about how Hamlet, the play, was written and made by Shakespeare. It's a historical piece, kind of a character dissection about Shakespeare and his wife, played by Jessie Buckley, as well as their son, Hamnet, who Hamlet is essentially inspired by in some ways. A really beautiful movie. Some chilling, haunting performances. I saw it mid-December at one of the theaters in Pooler, and just really great show. Great movie, I should say, and it should be on streaming now, I believe. So something worth checking out. It is kind of a downer of a movie, so just you got to be in the right mind space for it, but I do recommend it to just about anyone. All right, and finally, check it out over the weekend. Rock and Roll was in the air. The band Kissed took to the stage for their annual show at the Tanger Outlets, sponsored by Horn Law. And this is pretty cool. WTOC's marketing director, Andy Laviola, was on bass, channeling his inner Gene Simmons. How cool is that? Need Andy to bring his bass here to work sometime. I want to hear him play it. All right, and with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We appreciate y'all making us part of your morning. We'll be back in just about a half hour with a look at your forecast with Andrew Gordon, as well as the other top stories from throughout the day during our 11 o'clock hour show. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website for the latest updates at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and here's Local News Live.